my trolley does run on enthusiasm. When I ask you to participate, I expect you keep that energy high, okay? Alright, cool. So I'd like to formally welcome you aboard Ghosts and Gravestones. I am your ghost host, Renee. This evening we're going to be making 2 stops. The first of that is going to be for the old drugstore, which is now home to Potter's Wax Museum. These 2 buildings, they are severe paranormal hotspots. The second is the most haunted building in all of St. Augustine, and possibly even the state of Florida, the old jail. Now, there's going to be a lot of history and storytelling as we go along tonight. Some of these stories are even 450 years old when the city was first founded. Now, we also may encounter those that do not share the same beliefs as us. They might try to jeer at us or even try to share their words of wisdom or wit, such as, boo. Do not worry, I will not fail you as your ghost host. In fact, I will point them out, and together we shall shun them. I will point at them and I will shout, Unbeliever! And at that point, you will follow with a good and loud, Be doomed! Ready? Let's see if we can get somebody. These nice people on the left, or, yeah, the right of the trolley. Ready? Unbeliever!
Be doomed!
What just happened? So, now, she sailed into the harbor in 1821, a supply ship from Havana, Cuba. Normally a supply ship, it would have been good news for the town, but not this time. When she boarded, not one hand had survived, not even the captain. But supplies is supplies. They had to crack open the crates, distribute the supplies to the city. However, those fly-ridden corpses, those biting flies, they brought a gift for the city of St. Augustine. Yellow fever. Now, in fact, hundreds would succumb to the Yellow Jack before it was over. Just coming up on the right of the trolley is the Huguenot Cemetery, and it is, in fact, a mass grave of yellow fever victims. In fact, the church bell that traditionally rang the death toll was ordered silenced out of respect for the sick and dying. 1/4 of St. Augustine was wiped out before it was over. Now, locals do believe that those of the past still wander the streets, but one is most commonly seen in between the old city gates to the left of the trolley. Her name is Elizabeth, and she was the youngest daughter of the gatekeeper. She is seen nowadays waving at cars as they pass by on the freeway. Shopkeepers are often encountered about the young historical reenactor who stands in between those gates, and then they have to confess, there is absolutely no actor in between those gates. She seems real until you take a closer look, and you'll notice she is a transparent and misty figure of herself, eventually vanishing right before your eyes. Instead, if you stand in between those gates, you're to feel a gust of cold wind. And if you do, be sure to say hi to Elizabeth. Alright, so we're all going to be taking pictures tonight, right? Yeah! Alright, I'm going to tell you what to look for. The first of that is going to be an ectomist. Now, an ectomist is a misty cloud several feet off the ground, but its normal colors are gray, white, or black. Then we have our orbs. Now, the orb is the most common phenomena, but an interesting feat is when it has a little bit of a tail of light behind it. This means that the spirit was traveling rapidly at the time of the flash, and it often proves its authenticity, like how you can tell it's not a speck of dust or a raindrop. Then we have our vortex or a funnel ghost. This is a swirling figure several feet off the ground, but this is felt as a cold spot. Beware as you walk through the buildings this evening. Next we have our shadow ghosts. Now, shadow ghosts are seen as sneaky, evasive, dark figures that'll move throughout your pictures, and they're not your natural shadow, of course, but they're unexplainable, to be perfectly honest with you. We have our apparitions. Our apparition is a transparent human form. It's what every ghost hunter aspires to capture. But they're seen wearing the clothing of their time period, and 99% of the time, if an apparition poses next to you, for some reason, it will not show up on film. Lastly, we have our streaming ghost energy, and this is simply explained as streaming lines of energy. It looks like neon lights that'll swirl through your photos. The best way to take these photos, folks, keep your camera flashes on. Take the photos as fast as you can if you're using some kind of iPhone device, or smartphone, rather. You can hold down that camera button, it'll take a burst shot, I believe it is called. Yes. So do that. Take as many pictures per second as you can. But otherwise, we're going to be disembarking for the old drugstore, Potter's Wax Museum. We're going to be off the trolley in total for about 30 minutes. First, we're going to take a pit stop right next to the Talamato, and I'm going to tell you a few stories, of course. But you guys said you're ready for a ghost tour. If you have any food and drink, please leave it here. They're not allowed inside the Wax Museum, but Otherwise, you can leave your personal belongings on here if you'd like. I would take your purses if you would like. Anyway, so
Barbed wire
let's go.
for? Everybody see the barbed wire over here?
Keep people out.
Keep people out. Why is it facing in?
Hope there's ghosts.
A little bit unsettling. Yeah, all right. So we're all out. Here we are at the Talamato Cemetery. Right now, you're getting an up-close and personal look at more than a century of life and death in Old St. Augustine. However, this wasn't always the Spanish Catholic burial site in the Old City. Does anybody know what Talamato is Spanish for? That is a huge lie. It is not Spanish at all. It is actually the name of the Native American chief and then the burial ground before it was a Spanish Catholic burial ground. That is why people believe there's activity in and around the surrounding area, including what locals speculate is directly underneath the old drugstore in Potter's Wax Museum. And if you've forgotten, we're going inside. Anybody see Poltergeist?
Yep.
Yeah. Just saying.
Absolutely.
All right. Everybody see that big oak tree up at the front of the gates, right?
Yeah.
All right. From time to time, tourists still catch little arms and legs hanging out of this oak tree, and they're pictures, but often when you walk by, you can even hear a child's laughter. What is it? Who is it? Now, 30 feet away from this tree, you'll see a little tombstone, and as we go around the trolley, I'll try to point this out better for you. The name on the tombstone is James, and the dates indicate that little James, he died when he was only 5 years old. Could it be that this little boy is simply playing in the treetops, not even realizing he's passed on? You know, he might be lonely, because it said that children, they most often see the apparition of the little boy. Now, while you're all not children, you may definitely be able to see him as the night goes on. But my question for every single one of you, if he asked you to play a game, do you think you'd be brave enough to join him? You'd be given the tour because I'd be down the street. Yeah. But on the topic of bravery, there's another commonly seen apparition here, the woman in white. Now, she was first seen by 2 boys 100 years ago when they decided they wanted to debunk the myths and mysteries of the Talamato Cemetery with an inside look. One very dark evening, these 2 young boys, they confidently pitched a tent in the center of the cemetery, and they tried to go to sleep as best as they could, until suddenly, in the middle of the night, they started to hear some very disturbing noises. Thinking it was just a friend, they tried to peek out and see what it was. And that's when they saw a glowing female apparition several feet off the ground. She had a long white dress, an absent face, and long gray hair cascading down her back. Those boys, they ran out of that cemetery as fast as they could. They told every adult the story, trying to get somebody to make sense of it, and nobody believed them. That is, until one man, he stepped out of the shadows, and he ominously said, "I know who you saw in the cemetery that night." She was a young woman who had died of heart weakness 1 week prior to her wedding. Her family decided that as a tribute to her impending marriage, they wanted to bury her in her wedding gown. It all made sense. The long white dress, the long gray hair could have easily been the soiled train to her wedding veil. Now those boys, they stuck by their story for the rest of their lives, and trust me, they never stepped foot in this cemetery ever again. Experts, they don't exactly know what's going on here. They have caught shadows, temperature changes, electronic voice phenomena, full figure apparitions, you name it, they've caught it right here in this very cemetery. They don't know what it is, who it is really, or why they are here. But the fact remains, they are here. Take up your last few photos. We're gonna be disembarking for the old drugstore. Like, I think it was the late 70s or the early 80s that he was patrolling this area, and you're not allowed to go in that cemetery unless it's like the first Saturday of the month. But otherwise, if you jump that fence any other time, you get fined $500 or a night in jail. So the security guard, he had thought, or the cop rather, he thought he saw somebody that was going in the cemetery. So he hops the fence, he starts looking out for someone with his flashlight, and he actually claims to have seen the woman in white. So what does he do? He belly crawled his way to the front gate, so he called for backup because he was horrified.
The Spizegger brothers, they opened the old drugstore in 1886. Now these, of course, were times when medicine and technology, they were emerging from primitive origins. These bottles on the wall, they were largely concoctions of water, grain alcohol, and opium. And in fact, some of the baby medicine actually included chloroform. Yeah.
I'll put the baby to
So,
sleep.
what pales in comparison to what's on the walls is nothing when you think about the speculation of what is beneath our very feet right now. The remains of Talamato and his entire tribe. Now locals, they do believe this speculation that they'll come in frequently to make sure Talamato's totem sits where it belongs. When this first opened as a drugstore, the bottles on the wall, they would tip themselves over while no one was even standing near them. The glass globes to the gas lamps, they would spontaneously combust, permanently charring the ceiling above. There's one right there. Now, when an embalmer would rinse out the top and bottom floors to do embalmings in this building, he would become so frightened with the activity in here that he would spill his jars of embalming liquid all over the floor, making some parts of this floor shinier than others. Now, we do not know what is beneath the floorboards. It could very well be Talamato and his tribe, but this is a historic building. We can't exactly tear up a historic building. But from the surveillance cameras that I've actually heard my manager say, I see something moving around in there that shouldn't be, and the daily reports by customers and employees of Potter's Wax Museum, they're evidence enough. Right now, beneath our very feet is a restlessness that is the Talamato Cemetery. Now, a lot of the stories I have for you guys tonight, they come from handwritten letters and private journals, and we do use these to get a better understanding of what people used to do in the past. Oddly enough, a lot of the terminologies we have today still, they actually come from the past. But first, did anybody know that people used to accidentally be buried alive?
Yes.
Yep. It happened quite a bit, and actually it was some people's number one fears in the 17 and 1800s. Now, can you even imagine waking up from a coma and finding yourself 6 feet under the ground, enclosed in a wooden box, scratching at the coffin lid and screaming until your untimely death came? There were reports where bodies had been exhumed and they found the fingers worn down to absolutely nothing, and fingernails still left in scratch marks on the coffin lid. There were patents and inventions created to stop this from happening so often. One such was the Tayberger safety coffin. Now, the Tayberger safety coffin, it consisted of a tube that ran down into the ground, and on top of that tube, they would place a little bell. Attached to that bell was a string that attached to multiple parts of the body. So then they would hire somebody to stand guard at the graveyard and listen for that bell. This became known as working the graveyard shift. Yes. So, if you were to wake up from a coma, you could simply be saved by the bell. And then while you were in town. And
Very informative for me.
but we went to so-and-so's funeral. Still, you'd swear they were a dead ringer. Yes, I know. I'm actually not that cheesy. History is, but I will get you later on the jokes, don't worry. So, we actually do run across some very odd things when studying these journals. From time to time, it's the strange funerary practices that boggle my mind the most. One such story was preserved by Colonel Joseph Smith in 1823 when he came here on a new military assignment in St. Augustine. Smith, he was in love with the most beautiful woman in the whole city. But, unfortunately for him, she was married. And even more unfortunate, just 6 short months after they had met, he was attending her funeral service. She had died of a high fever. Now, because she was so lovely and beloved throughout the entire city, her family decided they wanted to put her in a chair, raise her high through the city, and carry her to her final resting place. Can you imagine doing that today? Yeah. So, the day of the funeral, there was a crowd. And Smithy intently watched as his true love, she was brought to her grave. Now, he didn't want to reveal his passion for her to anyone. In death, it had not taken anything from this young woman's face. This is, of course, when something very strange happened. As her chair passed underneath the thorny branches of an opopanox tree, one of those thorns had dug a deep gash into the woman's face. Then she began to bleed. But what do the dead not do?
Bleed.
Yeah, they don't bleed. So, Smith, he thought this to himself, of course. In fact, he burst through the crowd screaming, "Wait! She is not gone!" People, they jumped back in horror at this outburst. At a funeral, moments before this woman was put into the ground, he was able to kneel down. He gently patted her face. Her eyes fluttered and then opened. He was right, she was alive. And in fact, the most surprising part of the story is she lived for 6 more years after that in St. Augustine, before she actually did pass away. Now, for many years afterwards, Smith did talk about this woman in his private journals, and for whatever reason, he never told her how he felt, or even the fact that he was responsible for saving her. Come on,
man.
But he did have a strange suspicion. Smith believed that the husband of the woman was responsible for her death in 1830. When he found evidence that the husband, he grew strange suspicions, strange plants such as oleander and nightshade, and he dabbled in apothecary practices. Could it be that the husband simply made it appear that his wife had died, using secret elixirs like what's on these very walls? It's possible. But sadly, that woman, she went to her grave never knowing about the love that saved her from her first trip there, or the strange suspicion and secret elixirs that very well could have killed her, or possibly saved her life. Now, while a scratch to the woman's face in the last story saved her, let it be known that a scratch to any of the wax figures in the next few rooms will get me in a whole lot of trouble. So please, do not touch anything. But we're going to be heading into the Chamber of Horrors. Follow me quickly.
Ooh, good name. I like it. I want a chair. I want to be carried around on a chair. Awesome. Not just a chair, a throne. Much better. Be carried around on a throne. Chamber of Secrets, just like Harry Potter.
Oh, all right.
Frankenstein.
Oh, Frankenstein.
Right there, right there.
Yes. All right.
I don't mind Frankenstein. It's
I'm
actually.
going to stand right here. If anybody comes over there, karate chop.
All right.
All right. Good. All right. So, everybody come all the way in.
So he's the one right there that I fear the most.
Who? Oh, Freddie. Yeah. Oh, hi, Freddie.
She's gonna stand right there.
Guys, come all the way in. Come on. Who here likes pirates?
Arr.
That was my next question. What's a pirate's favorite letter?
Arr.
Who's your favorite pirate?
Blackbeard.
Blackbeard. All right. Maybe anybody. Jack Sparrow.
Jack Sparrow.
All right. Here's one for the adults. Captain Morgan.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So, what if I told you I had a story about a real pirate execution that happened here in 1684? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, pirates, they plagued the Florida coast with these newly arrived Spanish treasure ships. In fact, the English pirates, they were simply taking Spanish treasure like it was nothing but candy from a baby. One such English rogue, Andrew Ransom. Now, he was not as lucky. Him and his men, they were captured on a part of St. Augustine we now know today as Volano Beach, just north across the bay. His men, they were sentenced to hard labor building the Cohina stone fort in town. But Mr. Ransom, he was sentenced to a much different fate. He was made to be a public spectacle for all to see, an example set for all other pirates. Something horribly ghastly was waiting for this man. Does anybody know what a garrote is?
Yes.
Cool, all right. So what is it? It's this thing right here. Yes.
And then the head
For
comes
strangulation.
off sometimes.
Precisely, yes.
Yes.
It's this thing right here. This is a garrote, and it was designed for extreme suffering before death. And you, sir, you seem to be looking all over. Come on up for me.
No, I'm good.
No. Would you care to?
Yes, you go.
Come on,
Yes.
somebody be my friend. Come
You should
on.
be garroted. Where's it?
Just put your back straight against
Oh,
it.
it's taking so long to get through
All
college.
right, so everybody that gather in the town square, the townspeople, the clergy, and the governor. And that's when the executioner would step forward to announce the names and crimes of the guilty.
You have been found guilty of the crime of piracy.
He looks like a pirate to me.
I have already pulled the rope through the hole in the post. I will bring it around your neck To bring you back to the post where I will tie it off with a bat. The bat shall be twisted and turned until you die of suffocation, bleeding, and decapitation. And afterwards there'll be tea and cookies hosted with the governor.
Now,
Governor Scott?
His grand
now the governor.
Lord Voldemort?
Now the governor. He, of course, was the happiest of all to see the pirate put to death. Sailors and soldiers, they anxiously placed bets to see how many turns of the rope it would take to kill off the pirate. They estimated 6 or 7 turns would do the trick. And that's when the executioner he'd place his hands on that baton and with the first turn of the rope.
No.
What?
First turn of the rope. Say it right.
Oh. all right. With the first turn of the rope.
First turn of the rope.
Nice.
Come on, more dramatically.
With the first turn of the rope.
Someone else do it.
The first turn of the rope.
Like how he does it. Come on, girl.
Are you a traitor?
No, you know what?
I'm a historian. You know that.
You know what? Fine. I'm just gonna do it myself.
Yeah.
Good.
Do
Are
it.
you ready, Ranson?
Do it.
Wrong answer. With the first turn of the rope, the coarse braided fibers bit into Ranson's neck. But yet he remained eerily calm. With the second turn of the rope, he was seen grappling for Catholic rosary beads. But what was an English pirate doing with Catholic rosary beads? With the third turn of the rope, he showed difficulty breathing. Good job, that's exactly what he looked like. With the fourth turn of the rope, it bit into his skin, and the trickling of blood could be seen coming down his shirt. With the fifth turn of the rope, his skin began to turn purple and his eyes were bugging out. Sixth turn of the rope broke into two. Ranson took a deep breath of air. Good job, once again, spot on. The crowd, they all gasped in horror.
More rope.
Amateurs. And the priest fell to Ranson's feet. You're not the priest. The priest announced, "We've seen a miracle." He ushered Ranson to the safety of the church, where he announced sanctuaries. And everyone gave Ranson a round of applause. Except our seething governor, who wanted to see Ranson executed for his crimes. But arguing his high authority to the church meant nothing. So defeated, the governor retreated, and Ranson spent the rest of his days in safety. But it gets better. He eventually comes and makes us a deal that he will help us finish the fort if we return his freedom. So we do. And during the English siege of 1702, he goes and interrogates the English pirates and translates it back into Spanish. But here's the best part. 300 years later, his kids are still running around St. Augustine, contaminating our streets day after day. On that day, you were saved by a miracle, Ranson. Or maybe an odd twist of fate.
How about a round of applause for our Andrew Ranson volunteer? Alright, so, because you were such a brave volunteer, here's a complimentary gift on behalf of Ghosts and Gravestones. It includes these 10 stories on the tour, but plus 20 more.
Ooh!
Please, nobody attack this man.
I've got my own guarantee.
But it would be awkward too. You can see the driver at the end of the tour if you really would like a book, and you can get one for $5. I don't know how many of you guys are on vacation, but if you want to figure out the ghostly history for the rest of the St. Augustine attractions, this book is the best deal you got. $5 here, it's going to be $10 anywhere else, including Walgreens that sells it. I don't know why, but it does. But otherwise, there's a really cool story about the Lighthouse National Park, which was featured on Ghost Hunters.
Yes.
So, the Trolley of the Doomed Knights! Let's
Andrew
go!
Ranson!
Oh my goodness.
So,
Are we all having a good time?
yeah!
Can everyone hear me okay? By the way? Yeah?
The only way
Okay,
you can really
so
build
how about a few more
tradition
stories
is to
before we
do
head
these
over
over
to
and over again.
the old
Then you can
jail?
really get sense.
Cool, awesome.
So, toward the back of the Talamato Cemetery, down the center path, lies our beloved Bishop Verreau. Now, in 1876, tragedy had once again struck St. Augustine, and this was with the passing of our first bishop, Augustine Verreau. Now, this not only struck Augustine Verreau, he not only struck a good chord in St. Augustine, but throughout the entire state of Florida. So because of this, church officials, they decided to postpone his funeral by exactly 2 weeks. Now these,
So
of
that
course,
everyone could come.
yes, of course, so everyone could attend. But these were times when modern forms of embalming, they were a few years away. Usually if you did have a body, it was put in the ground that day, or at least within 3 days. So what were they going to do with him for 2 weeks? How did people travel back then?
Horse and buggy.
Horse and buggy, that's right. So, because the bishop, he had passed away in the month of June in Florida, yeah, that heat, it began to rapidly decompose his body. So they put him on a block of ice and they did sprinkle him with Spanish moss, and this worked until the ice melted and we were left with a soggy bishop and a whole lot of holy water. That was a bad joke.
I like it.
Oh my, thank you. Alright, so I will pause our story there for just a brief moment. I did promise I was going to point out that tombstone for you guys. We're going to be passing just in a second to the right of the trolley the love tree, which is back there. If you kiss your significant other under that tree, you're together forever. It is a palm tree and an oak tree intertwined. Now, so that's the big oak tree where little James plays in, and 30 feet away from that, that littlest tombstone up front. That is the tombstone of little James, the boy in the treetops. I know. It's so sad. Alright, back to Verreau, alright? So, after they had the soggy bishop, they put him inside a metal casket that had a glass viewing panel. This way, mourners, they could look upon the man's face, but they couldn't smell his decomposing body.
Excellent.
Now, the day of the funeral, there, of course, was a huge amount of people that came. The church, in fact, was packed to the rafters. That's when those sitting closest to the casket, they started to hear a very strange noise. A sort of hissing and a popping sound. My right side of the trolley, please hiss for me, like hiss, and don't stop. And my left side, will you please pop for me, like pop, 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 and don't stop. So, the hissing got louder, and the popping got louder, and the hissing, and the popping, until bang! The bishop exploded out of his casket all over the walls and all over the first few rows of mourners. And of course, everybody screamed! But what does everybody do with their mouths when they scream? Oh yes! Little bits and pieces of bishop came raining down into all those open mouths. Now, after that catastrophe, as you can imagine, yes, some say it was a divine meal. I love that. Alright, so after that catastrophe, as you can imagine, some highly paid individuals were sent back in to scoop up what they could of the bishop. Now, they plopped him inside a new casket. This one, it was also metal, but once he was inside, they welded that puppy shut. In fact, they covered the lid with concrete. They really did not want him to escape a second time. Now, they did rebury him, they did bury him, I should say, in the Talamato Cemetery, about 30 feet from where that little tombstone of James's was. Now, I know this sounds unbelievable, but when a body decomposes, it does release various gases. These gases had built up so much pressure that that glass panel on top simply could not take it anymore, so... Yep. Now, if you're still skeptical, a bunch of church officials in 1976, they did get permission to exhume Verreau's body. What do you think they found when they cracked open that casket?
Various bits.
Yes, various bits. They found his bits and pieces, folks. Yeah. Now, though, here's the ghostly part. Those pieces, they were still pink and moist and fleshy. His body had not decomposed in 100 years. In fact, he looked the same he did the day they put him in that casket. Well, the new one, of course. So, today, Bishop Verreau, he does rest in pieces. I'm sorry. Coming up on the left of the trolley is going to be the cathedral where this memorable funeral happened. Right there across the way, that's where this happened. So, coming up with the bayfront at 46 Avenida Menendez is Harry's Restaurant. Now, it is home to a very famous hostess. Some believe her to be Catalina de Porres, who lived in the home when she was 10 years old in 1763. Now, 1763 was the year that British occupation took over St. Augustine, and they ordered Catalina and her family to leave and return to Cuba. Not understanding why she had to leave the home she had loved so dearly, she made a vow to come back. And 20 years later, she got the opportunity, but she came with her husband. And this is when she began petitioning the governor, a woman petitioning the governor in the 1780s to get her home back. But she did end up getting the house back about 5 years after that. However, at the age of 43, Catalina breathes her last breath in the home. Some say she never left. Now, folks at Harry's restaurant, they have reported odd encounters with a woman wearing period clothing. She'll come down the stairs, walk into the dining area, and disappear before everybody's eyes. Men and women have actually been captured in the top half of Harry's restaurant, but the man is actually not her husband. The man is seen in clothing of an entirely different time period, about 100 years after Catalina. Now, if you do look to the left of the trolley, you will see this maroon building, which is home to Harry's restaurant and Catalina de Porres. Objects move about by themselves, the candles relight, so does the fireplace. One woman, she was on the second floor restroom doing her makeup in the mirror. She got an intense feeling that someone was watching her, but she had thought she was alone in that restroom. Now, she did indeed turn around to verify that there was no one in there with her, but when she turned back to the mirror, she saw a woman in period clothing pointing for the bathroom exit. Yeah, she left real quick, but the manager, he tried to stop her, and he actually... I'm so sorry, folks. See what I mean? Here we go.
Red light. Here we go.
Alright, here we go, guys.
1, 2, 3.
Unbeliever!
Be doomed!
Okay, sorry about that, guys. So, that's what they get. Anyway, back to the story, okay, folks? So, if you do get a chance to check out Harry's, it's making a lot of skeptics into believers. Now, in 1565, St. Augustine was first founded, and this is when French fleets, they descended from the north and they attacked the newly arrived Spanish forces led by Don Pedro Menendez de Avilés. Now, these French, they thought they could easily conquer the Spanish, but something unexpected happened. A storm rolled onto that bay, and it took out every single last one of their ships. In fact, 200 of them were able to crawl ashore out of about 10,000, and even then they were captured on the Matanzas Inlet by Menendez and his men. Now, the Spanish, they had no food or housing for the French, so they gave them an option. Become one of us or die. The French had refused to convert to Catholicism, so, one by one, they were slaughtered by sword and thrown into that bay until it ran red for 3 whole days. That bay is mysterious and ever-changing. In fact, locals do believe that those of the past, they remain in these waters. Boaters will look over their vessels into a blood-red bay, or even lifeless eyes staring back up at them. Some have even seen an eerie green glow, but they're not brave enough to stick around to see what it really is when it reaches the top. One woman, she swore she saw the apparitions of French soldiers on a sandy shore waving for her to come closer. Oh, well, she did not. But when she did get somebody to say, hey, look, there's people on that shore, they weren't there anymore. But I am taking you to the most haunted place in St. Augustine, possibly even the state of Florida, but I forgot to mention. It's on the National Registry with some of the most haunted places in America, the old jail. Now, we have been visited by ghost hunters, witches, taps, and the paranormal seekers, both deemed as haunted. We're often visited by paranormal investigation groups throughout the entire year, and many have found some very shocking evidence. I'm going to play for you an electronic voice phenomena brought to us by the Port Orange Paranormal Society. The clip you're about to hear says, there were only 8. Listen very closely for yourselves. Here it again, it says, there were only 8. Yeah. When we first got this, we had no idea what it meant. But then, of course, we did further research. The St. Johns County Jail had only 8 documented death warrants carried out in it. Only 8 men were officially hung in this jail. The jail was built on the outskirts of town and designed to look like a hotel at first glance by Henry Flagler, for obvious reasons. But the conditions that these men had to face, well, they had to live with bedbugs, rats, lice, cockroaches, you name it, they had it living with them. They'd shove as many men as they could into a cell. They got one toilet bucket that they changed every other week or so. It often overflowed, and you probably had to sleep on the floor. You got one bath a month, by the way, if you were lucky, in cold water, and everybody shared the same bathtub with the same water. Now, if you survived the unsanitary conditions, you had to face the work detail. In the morning, you were thrown on the chain gang to work some of St. Augustine's dirtiest and most dangerous work detail. Some of these were turpentine camps, railroad construction, and sewer drainage. Your life expectancy was less than 1 year in this jail, even if you had a 5-year sentence. Today, it's a living history museum by day, but at night, it will reveal itself to anybody who dares to enter. This building was designed to contain hate, anger, and rage. Those feelings, trust me, they don't go away when you drag the bodies out. They seep into the walls, the floors, even the air you breathe. And now I'm going to take you inside, so we're not going to be getting back on this trolley. Will you guys bring all your stuff with you when we get off? Debbie said something about going to Mexico. I don't want to go there, so I'll stay in Florida for now. But anyways, we're going to be getting inside. I have a few stories for you guys. We're going to go visit the ghosts. Our first stop, maximum security and death row.
Not alive. Uh-oh, see the face she's making? I'd be, thinking about that lady.
Just keep up with her. She walks fast.
Yeah, you don't want to get left here.
All the way down.
Oh, the kitchen. The meat grinder. Nice. That's what they did with the prisoners after they died. Meat grinder.
I know where to stand.
You better be.
Okay?
Well, I can see the next one. Cool. Somebody's going to be
I'm turning on my flashlight.
All right. All right. Yeah, man. Now we're talking. Yeah. All Y'all are happy. That's good. I like that. That's a real good start. I'll tell you what, though, folks, before I do anything else, all right? My people, my friends, they took real good care of the boring storyteller girl. You're welcome, but hey, y'all my name is Charlie. Hi, Charlie. There you go. All right. I know I look crazy. It's all right. Let me get on back here with you folks. How y'all doing? All right. Hey. Okay. This is good. I tell you what, though. You see, I can tell you true things about this place. True things about the 8. All right. There were 8 men, 8 fellas. They died right outside, right back there. Anybody took a look outside at those gallows? 8 fellas died at the end of a rope. And y'all fella number 1 that I'm gonna start with for y'all folks. Yes, my friends. Take a look at this big old picture for me real fast. You see the man up there in the middle of the picture holding the flowers? Yeah. His name, Sim Jackson, okay? Big old boy, cowboy hat on, standing right next to him. Who is it? Give it to me.
Governor.
Sheriff. Governor's close. Sheriff, there it is. Yes, very good, Sheriff. Much better than the last group who said John Wayne. Sheriff Joe Perry. Yeah, John Wayne comes up a lot.
Joe Perry, 6'6". The man, he weighed over 300 pounds. Big boy. And just in case you didn't know, he lived straight upstairs, 10 feet from general population, with his entire family. So he's got his wife and he's got his 2 kids right upstairs. Yeah. Good father figure, huh? If you got the choice, huh? Come on, think about it. Would you want to? Raise your kid? No. They say I make the perfect babysitter, y'all. Come on, man. Yeah, look at how happy these kids look. This is great. I'm telling you, they're having a blast in here. But hey, I tell you what, folks, take all the joking for a second, okay? We're gonna put it aside. The man standing there in the middle, holding the flowers, got into an argument with his wife. Beat his wife up real bad. Then he went and pulled out the big bad straight shaving razor and he hacked away his wife's throat with the thing. And he didn't stop hacking till that blade, it broke off. They found it stuck in her collarbone. She screamed so loud, some people who were outside the house, they ran in and they found Sim Jackson holding up his wife's body. They said that woman's head was dangling by a thread. Yeah, terrible. Then for his big final speech, you get the half, right? They give you your final words, you know what I'm saying, man? Yeah, you do. Yo, he went up there, okay? He went up there. He told everybody. He went up there, he made a big old fuss about God, and he said, friends, I'll see y'all in heaven. Yeah. I ain't lying. What do you think, huh? Made it to heaven. In other words, no. That's what most people say, no. You know what I say? I say maybe, right? Maybe. Maybe not. Hey, what do I know about heaven? Do I look like Jesus? No, people say I look like Beetlejuice, but hey. Some fellas will go up there, they'll go up there and they will say nothing. There was another man, Steve Johnson, went up there, didn't say a word. Just before he got hanged, he went to his best buddy. He asked his best buddy to carry his shoes to his wife. Yeah, tell the woman to bury him, because she can't even afford to bury my own body. Yeah, you know. But you know, the shoes never got to his wife. His buddy didn't have the heart to tell him what his wife actually thought about him. It wasn't much, and folks, I got those bad boy shoes. They're upstairs. They're upstairs in part of the building that they call general population. It is what they say to be the most haunted part of this entire place. And guess what?
We're going up there.
Say it one more time.
We're going up there.
Sweet.
You folks look thrilled. There's nothing wrong with that. Hey, I gotta let y'all know though, alright? It is a little bit dark up there, okay? If you don't want to come upstairs for whatever reason you got, you go out the front door, the very same door that you walked in. But if you do want to see the rest of the place, follow me through the kitchen. Come on over here. Let me get in here with y'all somewhere. Go somewhere here. I'll squeeze it in front of you. Go right here. This is perfect. I'll tell y'all what, folks, real quick. If I had $1 for everybody who said they wanted to take these home with them, I would be rich. People love these shoes. Oh, look at these. Come on.
They're nice.
Fellas, yeah. Hey, let me show you the good sides. Yes. Come on, man. You know it.
Those are nice.
Does anybody know why there's no laces on them real fast?
Why?
Keep it from hanging yourself. There you go. That's right. Weapons. There you go. Weapons in jail. Good. Now, folks, here's the thing, okay? You got this fellow Steve Johnson, right? Sheriff Perry, he ended up hanging the man, Steve, right beside 2 other fellows, same day, May 31st, 1912. There were 3 murderers hanged right outside the back. Steve Johnson, #1. Then you got these 2 fellas, Eugene Baxter, Tom White. Eugene and Tom, they together attacked a local store owner, wiped out the man's entire family. They killed his wife, killed his kids, killed him. No problem, right? But folks, here's the thing. When they got caught, they went to Sheriff Perry and they pleaded guilty. Yeah, you know, fellas, they said they'd rather plead guilty than spend any more time right where we're gathered in the middle of right now. Yeah, you know. The fellas, they were only men in this part of the building. They worked them 12 hours out on the Changang. Real nice Florida weather, right? Pulled you back here. You ended up sleeping on these metal bunks. If you were lucky, you would get a sheet. But inside of that, Spanish moss and hay. And inside of that, all kinds of bugs. They would just bite you throughout the entire night. And as you probably heard already, there's no toilets in this place. Each cell, you got a bucket that you shared to do your business in. And you know, the place was segregated. White fellas up top. Everybody else was down here. When those bad boy buckets up top, a piss and poop would tip over. You betcha. That storm's coming down. Yo, you see this cell right here in this right corner? This is your shower. Wasn't put in until around 1914. So that means this place opened 1891 to 1914. No shower. That's 20 plus years of the boys up here not taking showers. Yeah, and guess what, folks? After they put the 2 showers in, you only got 1 shower a month. That's it. Yep. On top of all that, all right? The final piece to the puzzle. There's 4 bunks found in all of these cells, but they would throw 5, 6, 7, even 8 full-grown men in these cells all the time. Ooh. Imagine 50 to 70 inmates where we're in the middle of right now, with the piss and the poop in those buckets. Yeah, you know. From these conditions, I can't give you an exact number because they didn't write it down, but so many fellows really did just pass out right in these cells that we're standing in between. Gave up living from dysentery, all sorts of diseases. And that's why they say this place, you know, it's so haunted. Yeah, but hey, I'll tell y'all what, my friends. I gotta put those chick magnets away real quick, you know what I'm saying? Let me squeeze back through here one more time. I'm also behind y'all here. I ain't going nowhere, don't worry. People get scared here. It's okay. I want to hold you together before I let you run wild or run out the door, whichever way you want to go. I want to hold everybody together. And I want to tell you about one more fellow. Okay, it's a fellow named George Hawkins. George Hawkins, he found his prey in a peddler named Charles Joseph. The peddler came into George's town, and then Hawkins decided that, well, you know, he was gonna follow. He was gonna follow that peddler all the way through town.
Thanks.
We're going. Where you going?
Who wants to take a shower? I called next.
I called top. I got you good, didn't I? That's all right. That's my favorite part. It was like movie screen. Folks, it's real easy, okay? George Hawkins, right? Followed the man.
Really?
When they got to the woods, he jumped on the man's buggy. He pulled his knife out. He cut the peddler's belly open, and he gutted that fella. He pulled that fella's insides right out of his stomach. Yeah. Gross. Yeah. Dropped the man's body off out in the woods. Left his horse and his carriage sitting out there, and that's where Mr. Hawkins, he messed up. Yeah, my friend, yeah. Because y'all not, you know, believe it or not, that horse with a blood-soaked carriage, it eventually found its way back into town, and it left some sort of a trail back to where that body in the woods was at. Sheriff Joe Perry came up with the idea, take the dogs, follow the trail out into the woods. They found a fellow, George Hawkins. And my friends, you take a look right outside those windows one more time. George Hawkins was hanged right outside there at the gallows. Yeah. That's it.
You done with your shower?
Oh, my friends! Hold on, folks! Oh man, I almost forgot. I can't forget this. After this, I'm gonna shut up, I promise. This is it. Everything. You just got to know from me, alright? You You gotta know what every fellow that was in this place, right? What they would tell you. What would you say if you were in jail?
I'm innocent.
Yes. Easy, man. You didn't do it. You're not guilty. You're innocent until proven guilty. What does it mean? That's it. Thank you very much. That's all I need, fellas. Appreciate you. Yes, it was a lie. I was framed on, you know. I didn't do it. Yes, thank you very much. Y'all, this is what I want us to have fun. Okay? Everybody, give it to me just one time. Say it. I'm innocent. Everybody, go. I'm innocent. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. That's right. I didn't do it, man. It wasn't me, Sheriff. What is that here, man? That's right. I'm not guilty. Yes, sir. Come on, y'all. One more time. Go. I'm innocent. How was that? Tell y'all, like I said, that was it. I do want to let y'all know, though, if you are ready to get out of here, we are going to be going out the door to y'all's left, down to the gallows, where all of the hangings, they really did happen. All I ask folks, take your time and be careful walking around this place. And when you're ready, come out the door. My friends, here we go. Let me get on in here. Y'all did pretty good walking in most groups. Come on, y'all in the corner. Let's go. Get in here. I didn't kill nobody up. Come on, take steps up. It's all right. We're family. I want y'all to see this part, you know? Yeah. You can touch them. You could stand under them. I don't care. What I want to make clear to y'all is that you're more than welcome. People like to take their picture under them. Whatever you want to do. Just don't climb them. That's all I ask. Now, folks, I can't make this any more clearer for anybody. This is the spot. You're standing. Y'all are standing right where that staircase used to be. Up they go, down they dropped. The only difference between what you are in front of. Do you remember the picture in the beginning? Yeah. A few of you do, thankfully. Yeah. All these gallows, okay? Nobody died from these gallows, all right? I want to make sure I said this. People are always asking me. I'm sure you're wondering. Nobody was hanged from that noose up there. These gallows have never been used, but what I want to make clear to you folks, this is it. That's the same tree that was in the picture. They say that tree right there over 200 years old, okay? Now that aside, let me take your eyes to this nice white sign that's tacked up here. Do y'all see the second name on the sign next to the fellow Sim Jackson? You see the second one?
Charlie Powell. Charles Powell.
Charlie.
Wait, you're Charlie.
You know what they say? You save the best for last, right? Everything happens for a reason, kid. Right? Yeah, man. You're looking a little bit nervous, kid. I understand. Can y'all say the name for me one more time? I just love hearing it.
Charles Powell.
Oh, poor thing. Boo.
Y'all, this is it, okay? You ready? It's real easy, too. Killed one man. That's it. Killed one man for talking bad things about my wife. I took my shotgun, popped that shell straight to that fella's head, no problem. The day my hanging came, I passed out in death row. Sheriff Joe Perry said, drag Charles Powell out here unconscious, okay? Couldn't stand me up straight, so he decided to tie me to a board. No problem. Shot me up the stairs, put the noose around my neck, pulled down the stick lever. Pop went the door and down I came. Something was wrong with that noose. Nobody knows what it was. That noose, it ended up snapping. Came falling down here. Perry's at it. Pick Charles Powell up, grab another noose. Swing the fella one more time. Yeah, but y'all, it was too late. I laid down here and my neck had already snapped. You know, it snapped right into two pieces. And that's how I was going to accept my peace.
We were taking pictures. We've had multiple people capture a full figure apparition in the Mary Peck House, which was just on the side of the jail, but also in the very front of the jail and even in the general population area. So, I mean, we've had them capture things all throughout the building, but I'm just saying those are the most significant ones that really scared me. And I mean, I'm here all the time, you know? So anyway, this jail's active. We should tell the ghosts to stay away unless you want to bring a prisoner home with you, right? So on the count of 3, we're just going to say stay away, and that's it. Ready? 1, 2, 3, stay away! You can't come home with me unless you're going to do the laundry. All right, folks, so I have some bad news. This is the last story of our tour. Everybody say, ah. Oh, I know. Now, this is one that parents and kids, they particularly enjoy, but everybody will like it just as much. Now, it's about the brave warrior chief Osceola, and it took place during the Second Seminole War of 1837. Now, during the Second Seminole War, the U.S. and the Seminoles, they were at each other's throats. They were on no means good terms, but this is, of course, when Osceola, he had heard rumor that the U.S. wanted to make peace, that they had a truce. Do you know what that could have meant for other Native Americans living in the United States at this time? So what does he do? He marches his whole tribe up to Cassio, the fort in town, which at the time was Fort Marion. But when he gets there, he quickly discovers there was absolutely no truce. Him and his men, they're thrown into the fort as prisoner. And this is where Osceola, he falls very ill. But he is assigned a physician, a man by the name of Dr. Frederick Whedon. Now, Whedon, he tries to care for Osceola's illness, but it just gets worse and worse. At this point, he is transferred to Fort Moultrie in South Carolina. This is where the brave warrior chief, he dies of malaria. And this is where our story also takes a really bizarre turn. Apparently, in order to further his medical studies, Whedon, he requests to be alone with the body of Osceola. And once he is, he takes out a sharpest scalpel. He severs the head of the great chief from his body. He wraps the whole thing up in a ceremonial scarf. Upon his return to St. Augustine, everybody wondered what he ever did with the head. He placed it on a glass display jar, and he put it on his desk for all of his patients to see. Now, these patients, they would, of course, want to inquire about the horrible head, but either they were too polite or just too scared. So instead, they decided to look away. It was rumored that Whedon, he had the most well-behaved children in all of St. Augustine because he would use the head to discipline his children. It was rumored that if his children misbehaved, he'd send them to their room. He'd place the head on their nightstand, turn it so it watched them while they slept, and then lock the door behind him on his way out. Well, he must have wanted really well-behaved grandkids too, because on the night of his eldest daughter's wedding, guess what she got for a wedding gift? That head. But she did presumably donate it to a medical school in New York State, which, oddly enough, without any explanation, burnt down 3 months later. I mean, it didn't burn to the ground, but the head was never found at all. Whedon, why did he do it? It was rumored he had lost family members in the First Seminole Wars in the First Seminole War at the hands of Osceola and his men, so could have been revenge. But now Osceola, his spirit, walks the streets of St. Augustine looking for his missing head. And while some presume it's gone forever, that would leave a headless Osceola, eternally doomed. All right, guys, you made it. Give yourself a round of applause. Woo! Guys are great. Great group. Thank you guys for coming aboard with us. I was your ghost host, Renee. Our rescue driver was Kevin. Your first driver was Debbie. Your Charlie Powell was Corey. And your executioner was Brandon. Thank you guys so much for coming along with us. Have a sweet dreams. Have sweet dreams. Come on. It's been a long night. Anyway, but if you do want to get one of those books again, now I don't know, how many of you guys have seen the show Ghost Hunters?
Yeah.
Alright, cool. It's not as popular as it is anymore, or was anymore, I guess, but there was an episode about the lighthouse in St. Augustine where they caught 3 full-figure apparitions standing directly next to each other in the top of the lighthouse. They later discovered that 3 little girls died there. So if you do want to learn more about that, that's one of the places you can go in and take a tour of. I think you can even take a tour at night.
They do have paranormal tours at night. The episode was in 2006, the second one 2008, and this first one they go to the jail as well.
Yes. Alright, so if you do want to learn more about that story, see Kevin outside, not guilty, and go over $5, alright? There's a lot more